Hi everyone, it's Kat back for another video this week. We are going to be talking about editing landscapes in Lightroom. So some people use Adobe Camera Raw and then Photoshop. Some people use Lightroom and then Photoshop. I almost exclusively use Lightroom for editing, and I'm going to show you how I edit my landscape photos in Lightroom today. My images mostly include landscapes with people for scale, so we're going to be looking at a couple different images that I have, and I'll show you what editing process I go through and how to do it.
Okay, so I've imported 3 raw landscape images, and I'm going to go through the editing process with each of them. And then also, I have a bunch of presets that you see here on the left side of the screen, and I will usually scroll over those and see if any of those look cool. If one of them works perfectly, then I'm done editing essentially. So let's just see what all these look like. As you can see, they each put a slightly different effect on the image, and I thought I saw something up here that looked pretty good. Okay, so this Brighten My Day looks pretty good actually. The blue is a little bit too intense for me. That's probably because it's up to 100. So if I brought that down, you know, if I wanted a really quick, simple edit, I would be done editing my photo right now. So presets are awesome. They make your life easier, faster, and I have some on my website, so go check those out. But if I were going to edit this from scratch, let's press reset. When you take raw images, they're kind of dull, not as punchy or as poppy as you might like them to be, so here's how I would go about it. And everyone has a different editing style and way that they operate, so you know, this is just how I do it. I like to keep things fairly simple. I like my colors to pop, you know, so that's the way you'll see me editing today. So I usually start by pressing auto, see what that does. It kind of makes it look HDR usually, which I don't really like. From there, I can just adjust the highlights, shadows, black and whites until I think they look okay. Also might adjust my white balance to get it, you know, more true to the scene. So bring the yellows up a little bit while trying to keep the blues pretty true. I'll go over to my curves and just create an S curve. Sometimes I like to bring up the blacks so the shadows aren't super harsh. They're a little bit softer. It's, I don't know, just a style I've been playing around with recently. Bring this, and then I also sometimes play with the red, green, blue curves. So I think it makes the colors pop a lot more. Brings interesting color hues and makes them look pretty cool. Okay, so if I take away the curves layer, you can see the difference from curves to no curves. And I noticed something that bothers me right now. I always go down and enable profile correction and remove chromatic aberration, and that makes the image all around brighter. It corrects for my lens that I used, and I really like doing that. Okay, so then I'll come down to my color right here, and generally I like my blues to be a little bit more on the aqua, or like have a little bit more green in them, and so I'm going to pull that over a little bit, and I'm probably going to bring blue saturation up a tiny bit. The greens, I think, need to be a bit darker for some reason. I don't know, they kind of are fading into they're looking too blue, I guess. So I'm going to go a little bit more to the yellow side and then bring down the luminance a little bit. Let's see if orange affects the color of the poppies. I think the poppies will probably read a little bit more yellow, but I want to bring out the orange in the poppies, just again for that contrast. The blue and the orange contrast and the green and the orange contrast. So I like them being a bit more orange, and then this yellow really affects the orange color as well. So I just slide that more towards the orange hue, and that's just so they pop on the screen. The other thing I'm going to do is crop a little bit. I don't like this down here. I could clone it, but also bring the image in toward the subject a little bit more. Okay, so I think that one looks pretty good. That's probably how I would edit it. I adjusted highlights and shadows based on the way that I like it to look. I'll actually add like a tiny bit of clarity. I don't use this that much, but a little bit kind of sharpens things up a bit. I really love using the curves. Again, this is without curves. This is with. I think it just brightens and makes colors pop and really brings a cool feel to the images. I like that. And then this is without my color adjustments. You'll notice I brought like way more orange in. It kind of just makes the colors more contrasting to one another, I suppose. Sometimes I use the split toning. For this image, I'm not really going to use split toning. You can do some cool stuff if you want to like create some crazy filters and stuff on it, but I sort of like it better without split toning on right now, so I'm going to leave it like that. Alright, let's move on to the next image. This image was taken at sunrise, as you can see, but the sun was not throwing any colors into the sky. We were there before the sun had risen at all, and there were just no colors in the sky, which is kind of strange, especially with the type of clouds that we had. As you can see, I have the sunburst through the trees. I thought that was really cool in general. I like this image a lot, but it is severely lacking in the color category. So again, I come over here and I look at my presets, which some of these presets make the image look really cool. Ooh, I like that. That's kind of cool. A little wild with the colors there. Yeah, so a lot of the sunrise sunset presets make this look really cool. I actually really like that one. But again, we're going to do it by hand. And you know, often when I edit a photo and I go back and edit it again, it turns out differently, and it's just how I'm feeling that day. I mean, they're all kind of similar, but you know, I may do colors slightly different one day versus another. So the first thing I'm going to do is come down and check these boxes, because I do that for every image. So there's way too much blue in this image, so I'm going to hit auto white balance and see what it does. There's still too much blue in it, so I'm going to bring that up to the yellow side a little bit. Let's see what hitting auto does. Again, it kind of creates this HDR thing, which I don't really like. Takes the contrast out, so I'm going to put that back. I don't know, like seeing what the program thinks I should do to my image. I am going to leave it at the exposure up a little bit. I'm going to bring the highlights back up and the blacks a little bit. And shadows. Actually, going to leave the shadows up quite a bit. I'll do my own S-curve. And I'll bring up the blacks a little bit. Bring this up a little bit too. Let's do the colors. So that really adding the red makes it look pretty cool. Let's bring this down a little bit. And then creating the S-curve just brings the color, the opposite color back in a little bit more. But it really makes everything pop. I like playing with the RGB S-curves. Oh, okay. So now this is like pretty blue. I'm going to bring the reds up a little bit more. Let's see how that goes. We're going to come into the graduated filter and pull that down. Choose an orange, sunrisey kind of tone, and bring that in. I'm also gonna kick up the white balance into sunrise type colors. And pull that down so it reflects on the water as well. Cool. Okay, so that's looking a lot more sunrisey already, if that's a word, sunrisey. Okay, let's hit done on that for the time being. The other thing I'm going to do is take this radial filter and just put it around the sun. Let's invert. And I'm going to bring up the exposure over by the sun to really make that area pop. Sun is really hitting over there. Change the white balance a bit, not too much. And then I'm also going to change the clarity a bit. That's 0. Is that negative something? Okay. Oh, and then, yeah, I brought up the sharpness. Okay. So that looks better. Brings a little bit more detail to that area. I like that being a bit brighter. I'm also going to put a radial filter on my subject. So she pops. Okay, so, and I'm going to hit invert so that it just affects the inside and not the outside. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the exposure a little bit. That's really all I'm going to do here. And that's just because I just want her to pop and stand out against the water a little bit. Alright, now the last thing that I might do is, again, I said I wanted more blue in the water. Let's 0 all of these out. I'm going to paint the water and see if we can't get it a bit more blue. And I'm not being super precise here. And that's okay, because a little bit of overlay probably isn't that terrible. All the colors are going to blend fairly well at the end. Hit Alt or Option to take away any masking that you don't actually want. After you've done a sloppy job painting the mask in the first place, you can come back and clean it up a little bit. Alright, now let's add some blue and see how that looks. So I'm just going to do that with a white balance. Okay. Now that looks cool. I think the water was a little bit too sunrisey, but now it looks cool, I think, to bring some blue out in the water. Because, you know, the image was originally pretty blue, so we're just bringing a little bit of that back in. I'm going to hit done here, and I'm going to go back down to my colors and then move it a little bit more towards the aqua side again, the blue in the colors. Okay, so as you see, I can make the water a little bit brighter where the blues are. Yeah, so I think that looks pretty good. I have some blue in the water, but I still have the sunrise reflection on it. So just to show you guys the difference in the beginning and the end, because I know we did a bit more on this image, that's what we started with and that's what we ended with. And again, every time I edit this picture, it's going to turn out a little bit different depending on how I'm feeling, what I'm doing. And that's also why I use my presets a lot, because it helps me stay consistent with my editing style. So there you go. You know, if you can see on the side as I scroll over, every preset does something a little bit different, and this final image looks a little bit different. Actually, what I would do also is probably crop this in a little bit, because I think there's too much land in the foreground there. Okay, cool. So, okay, that's that one. Moving on to this image. It's inside of a canyon. There's low light in canyons. This is the raw image. I'm going to start by hitting auto, see what it does. Okay, it lightens it up a lot. That's good. I'm going to bring the contrast back to 0. Brings the highlights down. I kind of like what it did here. It brought up my image. I'm going to go down and check these boxes because I always do. Let's bring some clarity in. And for this, I'm definitely going to slide my white balance more towards the yellow because this is what it actually looks like in the canyon. Like, yeah, we're in the shadows, so you get some dark blue shadows, but the color of the sandstone is definitely closer to this than anything else. All right, that looks cool. Okay, I think my subject here is a bit dark. I mean, she's wearing all black, but she's a bit dark, so I can bring up my shadows a bit more, or let's bring up the blacks a little bit. Okay, let's go over and do my S-curve. So I just kind of do like a standard, really simple S-curve, but like just in doing that, look how much nicer that looks. So my subject's still a little bit too dark. I'm going to put a radial filter on her to make her pop a little bit. And again, I'm going to come down and invert. So everything's at 0. Let's bring up the exposure on her. Okay. I'm not going to change any of the colors here. And we're done with that. Let's go to orange. The only thing that I don't like now is these feet in the background. Someone got into the image. So I'm just going to clone his feet out. Don't remember it. This is the quick way to do it. You can do it better and a lot more precisely in Photoshop. Let's move it to the sand. And let's heal it. Not okay, that doesn't look good. Okay. Let's go over it again. In the sand. Okay. That's looking better. We're going to heal it. No, we're going to clone it. Just kidding. Okay, let's zoom out and see if you can tell there. Okay, I don't really think you can tell that much. It might help to put some canyon walls in there or something, but actually, I don't know. Unless you were watching this, which you are, and knew that I did that, I don't know that you would notice. So yeah, that's I think the final for this one. So 3 totally different landscapes taken under totally different lighting conditions, edited with my style, although admittedly my style changes. Tell me what you think. Is this too much? Too little? Did you like the befores better? Yeah, so okay, let's go back and look at them next to each other. Before and after. Before and after. Before and after.
Make sure to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. If you guys have any extra questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. And thanks for watching.